Braintree District Museum presents Hidden Histories, the untold stories of the women that shaped Essex, in collaboration with the University of Essex History Department.
Hello, and welcome back to the Hidden Histories web series. I'm Sam Bugeja-Blanshard, and in this episode, I'll be detailing the life and impact of one of Essex's most influential women, an overlooked icon, Catharine Courtauld. Catharine was born at Bocking Place in 1878 into the wealthy and influential Courtauld family as the daughter of Sidney and Sarah Courtauld. The Courtauld family name is one of great establishment, arriving as Huguenot refugees escaping the wars of religion in France during the late 17th century. The first three generations worked as silversmiths in London before Samuel Courtauld, Catharine's uncle, set up a silk weaving factory in Braintree in 1816. This would take the already influential family and spearhead their name into Victorian households up and down the country. It would be Catharine's brother, Samuel, who would inherit the family business. An avid art collector, he would go on to found the Courtauld Institute for Art in 1932. Samuel and Catharine, alongside their sister Sidney, were avid Unitarians and used much of their personal wealth to support social reform through community hospitals, educational trusts, and charitable funds. Catharine is, of course, a cousin of Catherine Mina Courtauld and sister to Sidney Renee Courtauld, whose impact on the local and national agricultural industry and suffrage movement respectively are detailed in episodes 5 and 7 of this series. Catharine would not be recorded in the 1901 census, as she was supposedly in Germany studying music. Instead, choosing to study sculpture against her father's advice, Catharine would go on to use her family wealth and connections to set herself up as an artist back in England. Moving to an apartment at 4A Upper Baker Street in London, she would, on 2 occasions, display her work at the London Salon. In 1908, Catharine joined the Central Society for Women's Suffrage, and whilst was not an active member, was a strong supporter of the cause. Catharine would purchase a studio at No. 1 Marlborough Studios on Finchley Road, where she created many politically charged illustrations, sculptures, and paintings. In 1909, Catharine, alongside Lawrence Houseman, was a founding member of the Suffrage Atelier, an artist collective to aid the campaign for women's suffrage. Several of Catharine's designs would go on to be used by the Atelier as postcards, most notably her works The Anti-Suffrage Ostrich and The Prehistoric Argument. In 1912, Catharine would meet her future husband, Wilfred Harry Dowman, while sailing aboard the cadet training ship Port Jackson from London to Sydney. Wilfred was already married at the time, and the couple would live together until Wilfred's divorce in 1920. Catharine and Wilfred would move to Cornwall that same year, where they would marry and welcome their first child, a daughter, Margaret Renee Dowman. Like her fellow Courtauld family members, Catharine spent much of her personal wealth on philanthropic endeavours. The most notable of these was the purchase and restoration of the 19th century tea clipper, Cutty Sark. Catharine and Wilfred sold parts of their estate, as well as other ships in their possession, including the brigantine Lady of Avenel, to pay for Cutty Sark's restoration. The Cutty Sark would be displayed as the flagship at the Fowey Regatta upon its restoration in 1924, but Catharine's dream was that it would eventually be used as a cadet training ship, in honour of the one on which she had met her beloved husband. This vision for the tea clipper would end up coming true, and the Cutty Sark would be stationed in Falmouth. This was the first historic ship to be open to visitors since Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind, and its restoration was a pivotal moment in the preservation of Britain's prowess in maritime history. After her husband's death, Catharine sold the ship to the Thames Nautical Training College, and it now sits in Greenwich as a popular tourist attraction. She would continue to follow the ship, last visiting it in 1968 at the age of 90. In 1934, Catharine and her family would move to Wyke Regis in Dorset. Here, Catharine would become a dedicated supporter of the local Scouts, donating the land for the 3rd Wyke Regis Weymouth South Scout Group headquarters, and served as president of the group until her death at the age of 94 in 1972, leaving an estate of around £700,000. Catharine's legacy is one that surpasses many of her fellow contemporaries. Her dedication to the suffrage movement through her artwork and her philanthropic acts both locally, regionally, nationally and internationally made an everlasting impact on British society. The Courtauld name, in all its power, prestige and respect, would be amiss without the influence of its women, most notably Catharine.